Trump's distraction campaign, getting a heavy assist from Bill Barr, who seems to think he's Thelma to Trump's Louise these days.
He's trying to make the point that the ability to monitor this system is not good. And if it was so good, if you tried to vote a second time, you would be caught if you voted in person.
That would be illegal if they did that. If somebody mailed in a ballot and then actually showed up to vote in person, that would be illegal.
I don't know what the law in the particular state says.
You can't vote twice.
Well, I don't know what the law in the particular state says and when that vote becomes final.
So here's where we are. Wolf Blitzer telling the country's attorney general what's illegal. Aaron Blake of the Washington Post adds this context, quote, "So even if someone decides to heed Trump's advice, it may not be nearly as edifying as they hope, and it may not even prove the point Trump was trying to prove. Even the watered-down version of his comments offered by his campaign, that he was merely telling people to verify that their absentee votes have been counted, doesn't really make sense. At that point, people unfamiliar with these processes might wrongly believe their absentee vote has been lost forever and might even think that allows them to vote in person. And ultimately, the joke might truly be on them. The president's power grab amid sinking polls and a rising death toll in the U.S. due to the coronavirus is where we start today. White House reporter, who we've already quoted since we've been on the air for the Washington Post, and MSNBC political analyst Ashley Parker's back. Also with us, Democratic strategist Basil Smikle and political strategist and founder of the Lincoln Project, my friend Steve Schmidt's here. Steve Schmidt, I thought of you when I wrote this at the beginning, that we're now at the point where what he says is almost the opposite of what he's doing. And it represents a new degree of, fill in your adjective, audacity, chutzpah, delusion, whatever it is. But what do you make of the remedy for this more audacious lie coming from Trump about law and order?
Well, it is dishonest at a profound level, Nicole. It's a lie. We're seeing Donald Trump again project from a point of weakness, trying to convince people of this alternate reality that bears very little resemblance to actual reality, where the country is cruising towards 200,000 dead from coronavirus, a shattered economy, escalating foreclosures and eviction crisis. But I think it's important to understand that Trumpism is no longer a haphazard and accidental set of pathologies that have come together that define, because it's hard to explain, this moment in American life and American politics. It's a ideology now, and it's taken root. And so it's important to understand what it is so we can do something about it. And what it is an illiberal, autocratic ideology that about 30% of the country, roughly, are enamored with. They are full in, 100% committed to the cult of personality that is at the core of Trumpism. It's a cult of personality built around Donald Trump. When you look at the convention, what you saw was breathtaking lying, utter lawlessness, and the seizure of symbols of the American Republic to become partisan totems for Donald Trump's tribe to make them symbols of authority over the rest of the country. So in essence, what Trump is saying is, I am the truth, I am the law, I am the state. And we're required to oppose this as Americans because that ideology is fundamentally un-American. It's not what the country's about. It's contrary to the American idea and ideal, contrary to the concepts of democracy and the great progress the country has made over the last 50 years.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.